Good morning children. Welcome back to session 2 of A reading from 2nd unit, that is C.V. Raman, the Pride of India. Children, have you finished your yesterday's homework? I told you to gather information about these famous people, right? Have you written that? Write about those persons in your homework. And we have seen in yesterday's session about the introduction part, right? So shall we quickly recall the lesson once? So what we discussed yesterday, it was Kolkata. On busy Bow Bazaar Street, there was one old building. What was that? It was the headquarters of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. So it was one laboratory, and there was Chandrasekhar Venkataraman, C.V. Raman, the famous scientist. What was he doing? He was showing his instruments to one visitor. Then who came there? K.S. Krishnan, one more professor. He came and he told Raman that Professor Compton has won the Nobel Prize. Who had won the Nobel Prize, children? Compton. So let's see what happened there. Raman was equally delighted. Excellent news, he said, smiling at the visitor, and then he was lost in thought. But look here, Krishnan, he said, turning to the young man, if this Compton effect is true of X-rays, it must be true of light too. So what he said? By listening that, Raman was equally delighted. Delighted means he felt happy. Equally. Equally. He was equally delighted. Delight, delighted, delighted. Three forms of delight or delight, delighted, delighted. Equally comes under adverb. Okay, so what he said, Raman, excellent news. Not only that, even he smiled at the visitor. Then he lost in his thoughts. So lost in thought meaning is what? Look at glossary once. Giving all your attention to something so that you don't notice what is happening around you. Notice means observe. So sometimes what will happen if we lost in our thoughts, we will not be able to notice what is happening around us. So that's what is the meaning here. So he also lost in his thoughts. He was thinking something in his mind. About what he was thinking, he was thinking, and at the same time he told to Krishnan that if this Compton effect is true of X-rays, it must be true of light too. So Compton had proved something. He won the Nobel Prize. Actually, Compton, he was doing research about X-rays. If Compton effect is true for X-rays, then it might be true for light too. C.V. Raman was researching about light. He was doing experiments regarding light. So then he thought, if Compton effect is true, then the same concept will be applicable for light as well. So let's see what happened. Next, see the third paragraph. A few years earlier, A.H. Compton had shown that the nature of X-rays changes when passed through the matter. The change was dependent on the kind of matter. This effect was called the Compton effect. Children, you might have learned about this Compton effect in your science. So what exactly it is? Compton effect was discovered by A.H. Compton. And what he proved? He proved that the nature of X-rays changes when passed through matter. Here matter means substances. We have three states, right? Liquid, gas, solid, right? So what he discovered, if X-rays passes through any substance, any matter, then there will be change in the nature of these X-rays. So now C.V. Raman was, at that time C.V. Raman was thinking. So it might be applicable for light as well. Okay, that effect which was discovered by A.H. Compton was called as Compton effect, and for that he got Nobel Prize. Okay, next, could light also change its nature when passed through any transparent medium? That was the question that Raman asked himself. For 5 years he had been doing research in optics, the science of light. No sophisticated equipment was available in his laboratory. But Raman was confident that he could find the answer with some modifications in his equipment. Okay, so he was thinking that maybe if light passes through a transparent medium, transparent means allowing you to see through it, allowing you to see through it. If light passes through any transparent medium, maybe there will be change. Maybe light rays, they will change the direction. That was the question in the mind of Raman. He was asking himself and started researching about that. For 5 years, he had been doing research in optics, the light of science. So for the last 5 years, up to then, actually this incident took place in December 1927, right? We already know that. So for the last 5 years, he has been doing research about the light. And one more important thing is he was not having any sophisticated equipment. Sophisticated means advanced. Okay, sophisticated means advanced. It was 1927, almost 90 years back, children. So obviously there was no advancement in the technology. And he was not at all having any sophisticated equipment in his laboratory, but he was very confident about his research. And of course he started finding answer for his question with some modifications in his equipment. Modifications means changes. So whatever the equipment, even though it was not sophisticated, he made some modifications and started researching in that point of view. Later what's happened? 4 months later, on March 16, 1928. So 1927 December. After that, 4 months later, on March 16, 1928, Raman announced his discovery of new radiation. That means describing the behavior of a beam of light passing through a liquid chemical to an assembly of scientists at Bangalore, now called Bengaluru. Okay, so it was on March 16th, 1928. What happened? Raman announced his discovery. What was that? New radiation. And what he proved? He proved that the behavior, he described the behavior of beam of light. Beam of light means the rays of light. If they passes through any liquid chemical, they changes their nature, they changes their direction. That was proven by him. That was very, very important for at the time, it was really useful for the world. That was used in so many experiments later on. Okay, so that was discovered by him, and it was discovered at Bangalore, which is now is calling we are calling it as Bangalore. And an assembly of scientists. Assembly means like group of scientists, group of people. Understood, children? Yes. So the word hailed the discovery as the Raman effect. Hailed means praised, addressed. So the discovery that was given by C.V. Raman was called as Raman effect. Understood, children? A.H. Compton, whatever he discovered, that was called as Compton effect. And Raman, what he discovered about light, that was called as Raman effect. So what is Raman effect? He proved that the beam of light, if it passes through any liquid substance or any transparent medium, it changes its direction. The nature of the rays will be changed. So that's what proven by him, which is called as Raman effect. So here, this is very, very important thing for you children. That's what I have explained in yesterday's class, 7th class. So if you really wanted to become scientist, no matter whether you are having sophisticated equipment, everything, it doesn't matter at all. Only you should have the strong desire and think. What is the main quality a scientist should have? You have to think, observe, keen observation. Whatever is happening in the nature, surroundings. Science is all about knowing about the nature itself, right? So you are reading. So now itself, that's what I say. You are having lot of chance. You can know everything. In 1927, there was nothing, no advancement of the technology, and even he was not having any sophisticated equipment. But even though he was able to discover that effect, then what about you? It's not at all difficult for you if you really try for that. Okay, that's what. Next. For scientific research in this country, it was a red letter day. Red letter day means important day. Red letter day means an important day. So in the history of the science, so we are talking about science and history, right? So if you take the history of the science, it was the red letter day, an important day. The discovery was really important. Based upon the discovery, again so many another discoveries have been changes have been taken place in science. That's why that was when the Compton effect, Raman effect was announced. That day, the day was really important day, a red letter day. Okay. Next, his discovery caught the attention of the world. Caught, catch, caught. Don't say catch, okay? His discovery caught the attention of the world with equipment worth hardly 200 rupees and limited facilities. So he was having what, children? Hardly 200 rupees. How much amount he was having? Just 200 rupees. So think about yourself. 200 rupees nowadays, just it's like your pocket money. That's it, right? So he was just having 200 rupees and limited facilities. Raman was able to make a discovery which won him Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. Actually, he discovered this in the year 1928, right, children? But he got Nobel Prize in the year 1931. Okay. He was born on November 7, 1888 at Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. So where he was born? He was born in Tamil Nadu, Tiruchirappalli on November 7, 1888. His father was a physics teacher in a college. So maybe that might be the reason he also got interest in physics. He started experimenting in physics as his father was a physics teacher in a college. Okay, he was a brilliant student right from the start. So he was very brilliant, intelligent, sharp from his childhood onwards. When Raman passed his matriculation, actually at the time it was equal to 10th class children. Matriculation means his parents were keen to send him abroad for higher studies. So when he had finished his matriculation, his parents, they were very keen to send him to abroad. Abroad means foreign countries, other countries. They were keen. Keen means like interested. They were particular because as Raman was very intelligent and as he was reading very well, his parents always wanted him to send to abroad. But on medical grounds, a British surgeon advised them against it, and Raman stayed in the country to do the MA course at Presidency College in Madras, now called Chennai. Okay, but what happened? On the medical grounds, that means actually this Raman was having some health issues. He was suffering from some kind of health issues. Because of that, one British surgeon means doctor, he advised or suggested to not send him to the abroad. Based upon his suggestion, Raman stayed in India itself. So what's the reason behind that, children? Why did he continue his studies in India itself? Because of his health issues. So he stayed in India only and joined Raman stayed in the country to do the MA course at Presidency College in Madras. Now we are calling it as Chennai. Science had already made an impression on him and he began to write research papers for science journals. When he was only 19, he became a member of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. Meanwhile, respecting his parents' wishes, he took up an administrative job in the finance ministry in Kolkata. His interest in science, however, did not flag. He used to spend his hours after office in the lab of association working throughout the night. So science had already made an impression. So he liked science very much. So that left one impression on his mind. That's why what he did, he started to write research papers for science journals. Journals means it's like magazines, you have that right. So he started writing articles or research, submitting the research papers for science journals. As he was very much interested in science subject, he started writing research papers for science journals. And when he was 19 years itself, he became a member of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. So starting we have seen that, right? Actually where we was he working, Indian Association for Cultivation of Science, right? So he got the opportunity, he got the chance when he was 19 years itself. He became, right? He become children, three forms. The member of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. Meanwhile, respecting his parents' wishes, took up an administrative job in the finance ministry in Kolkata. So as he was working already, but he got one more opportunity in the finance ministry in Kolkata, and he got one administrative job, administration side. Administration means who will take care of the activities of the employees in any organization. Okay, that's called who will keeps the records of all the employees who are working in any organization or institution. Okay, so like that, so he got a job in administration side. Then his interest obviously, but he was interested in science, right? So his interest in science, however, did not flag. Flag means here decline. Decline means it was not decreased or reduced, or he didn't lose interest in science. See here, science administration side means it comes under social children. Okay, both are different. Of course, he got the job administration side, but still he didn't lose that what we can say interest in science. He used to spend his hours after office in the lab of the association working throughout the night. So he used to go for job. After the job, after his office, again he used to go back to the lab of the association and used to work throughout the night. So daytime he used to go to office, and at the night time even he used to go to lab and used to work throughout the night. So that's how he was working, children. Look at him. He was satisfying his parents and he was trying to satisfy his own desire as well. He didn't say no to his parents. He was trying to balance both equally. That's what an attitude. That's what you have to look for. Try to understand your parents' situation. Obviously, parents always, they are well-wishers, right? They always do good. They always think about yourself only. If they say no, there might be any reason. So think about that. Okay. Next. In his youth, Raman was mainly interested in acoustics, the science of sound. He studied how stringed instruments like the violin and the sitar could produce harmonious music. So in his youth, he was mainly interested in acoustics. That means the sound, science of sound. That means what? Even he studied about the stringed instruments like the violin and sitar. Even that means he researched about that, how sound will be produced, different sounds, right? Stringed instruments means you know that, right? How the beautiful music comes out, why different things will give different sounds. So he studied about that, he researched about that. And harmonious means like pleasant music. He was elected to the Royal Society of London in 1924, and the British government made him a Knight of the British Empire in 1929. It was a high honor for any great scientist. So he was elected to the Royal Society of London in the year 1924. and of course the British government, he made him a Knight of the British Empire in 1929. Knight means a man of high social rank. Understood, children? Knight means a man of high social rank. In the year 1929. It was a high honor for any great scientist. So that was a great honor he received from the British government. So it was really the great thing, good thing in the 1929 in the year. Means after he discovered his Raman effect only, he received that honor from the British government. Right, children? Yes. His advice to young scientists was to look at the world around them and not to confine themselves to their laboratories. The essence of science, he said, is independent thinking and hard work, not equipment. Really, children, these two lines, this small paragraph, read as many times as you can. The best message. This is applicable for anything. You can use it anywhere in your life itself. Okay, just read that paragraph once again. His advice to young scientists means whoever wanted to become scientists, was to look at the world around them. That's what I told children. You have to observe the surroundings, look around the world, and not to confine themselves to their laboratories. If you are like confine means here to restrict. If you restrict to the laboratories itself, if you even the 24 hours, if you research also, that might not work. What you have to do? You have to observe the world, observe the nature, observe your surroundings, each and everything. So it's all our life. It's totally connected with science. In each and everything we can find science, right, children? That's what he is saying. It's not only enough to sit in the laboratories and doing research. It's not at all enough. The essence of science, he said. So looking around is called, that's the real essence of the science. And also he said is independent thinking and hard work, not equipment. Okay, so you should have your independent thinking. You have to think on your own. Don't follow others. And hard work, it's must and should, it's required, not equipment. So equipment doesn't matter at all. Even though if you don't have laboratory also, no problem. But if you are having the capacity of independent thinking and hard work, definitely you can become a great scientist. That's what he wanted to say. Right, children? Next, C.V. Raman was the first Indian scholar who studied wholly in India and received the Nobel Prize. So he was the first Indian scholar. Scholar means well-educated person. Of course, he studied totally in India and received Nobel Prize. He was the first Indian to do like that. He was the first Asian and the first non-white to win such a great award in science. So even Nobel Prize, it's not an ordinary thing. So he was the first Asian as well as the first non-white. Non-white means he is from India. It's talking about like a color. Okay, and to win such a great award in science. He passed away in 1970 on November 21. So unfortunately, he was died on November 21 in 1970. But his memories are with us, definitely. Right. February 28th, the day on which he discovered the Raman effect, is celebrated as National Science Day to commemorate his remarkable achievement in science. So this is what we celebrate even in our school. Science Day, we celebrate, even science fair will conduct. So why we celebrate that one? It is just an honor. Just we want to commemorate his remarkable achievement. Remarkable achievement. There is no remarks at all. There is no flaws at all. Okay, and because February 28th, on that day, he discovered the Raman effect. That's why it is celebrated as Science Day all over India. Okay, and so this was adapted from Scientists of India, published by Children's Book Trust, New Delhi. So that was about the lesson, children. So did you understand? So how he achieved his goal, and why are we celebrating the Science Day? So the reason behind that is that one. I hope you understood this lesson. So today's homework is write a glossary and a summary of this lesson in your classwork. Summary already there in your workbook. Just go through that once, but write in your own words in classwork. Okay, we'll see the textbook vocabulary and grammar part in the next session. Thank you.